A very good evening. Welcome to State of Business on Art Television. I'm Ashing Sani Veerasinghe. Let's have a look at the headlines first. Police warns that the curfew passes of online retailers failing to conform to health guidelines will be suspended. How can the tourism industry embrace the recovery in post-COVID-19 crisis? Subject experts to be positive on retrieval. News in detail. Health Ministry announces that 12 more individuals have been tested positive for COVID-19 as of 5 p.m. today, increasing the number of total cases to 322 in the country. Meanwhile, 2 more COVID-19 patients have been discharged today after a full recovery, increasing the total recoveries to 104. Health Ministry announces that 11 patients who were tested positive for COVID-19 were relatives of an already identified patient in Berwala. Director General of Health Services Dr. Anil Jasinghe said that those 11 patients were identified while they were quarantined at the Batikulo Quarantine Centre and they have been later directed to the IDH hospital. The other patient has been tested positive for the virus while he was under observation at the Polonnaruwa hospital. Dr. Anil Jasinghe also added that the government has decided to conduct the PCR test in all the highly populated areas in Colombo like Bandaranaike Mawatha. Director General also said that number of passengers travelling in a three-wheeler will be limited to 2 and all salons to remain closed for some time. Further, canteens will be advised to sell only the takeaway food, limiting the opportunities to have the meals inside the establishments. He also said that over 500 PCR tests were conducted in Piliyandala and Boralaskamo areas today as they identified a positive case from the area yesterday and added that not a single test was positive. Subsequently, Army Commander Lieutenant General Shavendra Silva, addressing the media, said that 106 stranded Sri Lankans were brought back to Sri Lanka from Pakistan and they were directed to the quarantine centres. He also said that Sri Lanka Army is still maintaining 26 quarantine centres as 2,690 are being quarantined. Army Commander also said that by today, Sri Lanka Army had quarantined nearly 4,350 individuals. Meanwhile, Labour Minister Dinesh Gunawardena says that the government is ready to assist all the employers to reopen the closed down factories. Information Department in a statement to the media said that the government is very keen to refresh the country's economy with productions and to ensure the job security of employees in both the public and private sectors are not put on hold. Meanwhile, this is how the Sri Lanka Air Force entertained the fellow citizens who are residing at the Ranmasuyana housing complex in Thotalanga. This musical concert was conducted yesterday by the officers of the Sri Lankan Air Force under the patronage of the Commander of the Sri Lanka Air Force, Air Marshal Sumangala Dias. Japanese government grants $1.2 million to combat COVID-19 in Sri Lanka through UNICEF, International Organization of Migration and International Federation of Red Cross. The government of Japan has provided a total sum of approximately 230 million rupees through the United Nations Children's Fund, the International Organization for Migration and the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies for tackling the novel COVID-19 in Sri Lanka. Accordingly, UNICEF has been entrusted to formulate key risk communication messages, the provision of essential health and hygiene supplies, refurbishment of isolation units and ensure undisruptive access to both child education and child protection services. The International Organization for Migration has been directed to support the internal and cross-border coordination of migrant and mobile populations and alleviate associated barriers including inadequate access to credible information and also render assistance towards the health and border preparedness response at ports of entry. The International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies assist in the dissemination of knowledge on health and hygiene to the community, extend psychosocial support to affected populations, frontline volunteers and staff, and supply daily necessities for isolated patients. The contributions received by IFRC will be utilized through the Sri Lanka Red Cross Society to complement the implementation of prevention, containment and mitigation actions undertaken by the Government of Sri Lanka. The Government of Japan is in the view that the assistance will contribute effectively towards the prevention of the new coronavirus infection in Sri Lanka, whilst remaining firmly committed to work with the Government of Sri Lanka and international organizations on an array of economic and social cooperations, including infectious disease control. Sri Lanka Police warns that the curfew passes of the online retailers and vendors engaged in door-to-door delivery services of essential goods who do not follow health guidelines will be suspended from today. Accordingly, Sri Lanka Police issued new protocols for retailers conducting door-to-door mobile sales and delivery of essential goods such as dry rations, vegetables and fruits. Police announced that vendors engaging in mobile sales of essential items must strictly abide by the preventive measures taken to combat COVID-19 in order to make sure that this virus is not spread to the society. Thus, the online retailers and other agents who are conducting delivery services of essential food items are advised to wear clean clothes, to wear gloves and disposable face masks or cover their faces, to wear fully covered shoes and continuously use hand sanitizers or disinfectants when engaging in sales. Vendors engaged in the sale and delivery of bakery items are advised to refrain from touching the goods and are directed to use necessary equipment in handing over goods and to use paper bags or paper to wrap the bakery items. The vendors are also requested to refrain from touching food items after exchanging money with consumers. On the other hand, consumers are requested to wear face masks and maintain a 1 meter distance when purchasing essential items from delivery agents. Police reiterated that the curfew passes of vendors who fail to conform with the above-mentioned guidelines will be cancelled. Defence Secretary retired Major General Kamal Gunaratne assures that all perpetrators behind the last year's Easter bombing carnage will be brought to book soon and that the government will not allow any such massacre to reoccur in the future.
මේ රටේ ජනතාවට පොරොන්දුවක් දීලා තියෙනවා. මේ පාස්කු ප්‍රහාරයේ මහමොල කරුවන් ඒ වගේම මේක ක්‍රියාත්මක කරපු අයවලුන් ඒ වගේම මේ සඳහා මුදල් වියදම් කරපු මුදල් යොදවපු අයවලුන් සහ තිරේ පිටුපස ඉඳන් මේ ම්ලේච්ඡ ක්‍රියාව කරන්න අනුබල දීපු අයවලුන් මේ අය සොයාගෙන නීතිය ඉදිරියට පමුණුවලා ඒ ප්‍රහාරයෙන් මියගිය අපේ රටවැසියන්ට වගේම තුවාල ලැබපු රටවැසියන්ට ඒ අයගේ පවුල්වල අයටත් සාධාරණ යුක්තිය ඉෂ්ට කරන්න අපි කටයුතු කරනවා. ඒ වගේම මේ පාස්කු ඉරිදා ප්‍රහාරය වාගේ අවාසනාවන්ත සිද්ධීන් අපේ මව්බිම තුළ මීට පස්සේ සිදු නොවන්නත් ඒ වගේම අපේ රටවැසියන්ට එවැනි අවාසනාවන්ත සිද්ධීන් වලට මුහුණ දෙන්න අවස්ථාවක් නොසැලසෙන්න අවශ්‍ය කටයුතු විධිවිධාන සියල්ලක්ම අපි ආරක්ෂක අමාත්‍යාංශ විදියට අපි දැන් පියවර අරගෙන තියෙනවා. අපේ බුද්ධියංශ අපි සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම ශක්තිමත් කරලා තියෙනවා. ඒ බුද්ධියංශ සියල්ලක් එකට වැඩ කරන්න අවශ්‍ය යාන්ත්‍රණය අපි හදලා තියෙනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ නැවතත් මෙවැනි කණ්ඩායම් එකතු වෙලා මහජන ආරක්ෂාවට, ජාතික ආරක්ෂාවට හෝ රටේ ආරක්ෂාවට එරෙහිව යම් කිසි දෙයක් කරනවා නම් ඒකට විරුද්ධව කටයුතු කරන්න, එවැනි දේවල් සැලසුම් කරන අවස්ථාවේදීම නැති කරන්න අවශ්‍ය පියවරවල් අපේ බුද්ධි අංශ, හමුදා අංශ සහ පොලිසිය මගින් අපි සිදු කරනවා.
Meanwhile, in marking the first anniversary of the Easter Sunday terror attacks, Colombo Archbishop His Eminence Cardinal Malcolm Ranjit visited the St. Sebastian's Church in Katuapitiya and St. Anthony's Shrine in Kuchikade yesterday evening. This is how Colombo Archbishop paid respect to the deceased of the Easter Sunday carnage. Stay tuned for more news after this short break. Welcome back after the break. Chairperson of Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority, Kimali Fernando stresses that before looking at tourism promotions, Sri Lanka needs to look at increasing connectivity as a recovery plan after the COVID-19 crisis. Sharing her thoughts on an online discussion conducted by Advocata Institute titled Impact of COVID-19 on Sri Lanka Tourism, head of the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority highlighted the importance of promoting Sri Lanka as a transit hub for the region.
Overall, how do we look at increasing connectivity to Sri Lanka? How do we do a study on all the handling charges, whatever that is entailed, the fuel charges, all that? So are we going to have open sky? Are we going to encourage more airlines to come in? Because though we are placed in a really super location, I'm not so sure that we are sort of optimizing our capability with regards to connectivity, point one. Point number two is with regards to the cost associated with airlines and what have you. I think at the moment, the need to look at to be a sort of a transit hub. It was discussed at a senior level in the government. I was also participating in that meeting. And the decision was made that we want to work towards being sort of a transit hub for this region. And that's the reason recently in the COVID task force, which I'm a member of, we discussed and we agreed that the 6-hour transit will be increased to 10 or 12 hours. And we will give various facilities. So I think we should make some learnings maybe from Singapore and Dubai. Many years ago, they were not promoting tourism. They first promoted their airport for transit passengers, and then only subsequently used the airline to market their country in tourism. So these are things that we could also learn.
Joining the same discussion of impact of COVID-19 on Sri Lanka tourism, President of the Hotels Association of Sri Lanka, Sana Tukwatta, added that the cabinet approval to the 5-year new global communication campaign across 8 target markets will be indispensable to recuperate the tourism industry affected from post-COVID-19 crisis.
The cabinet has given the long overdue approval to roll out a global marketing campaign. So this can be a good beginning, a good start for our industry to launch our country, to the world audience. So this has been our major, call for the last number of years. In the last 1.5 years, we have had 5, chairmen who are heading our industry, unfortunately, and we could not get this plan forward. So at least now we are in a situation where we have a great capable lady in charge of our promotional bureau and tourism industry. So we believe that we have to plan ahead, plan at least for 5 years, and we can start positioning Sri Lanka as the best island in the world. And I think we have all the qualities, all the ingredients to do that.
Frontline Socialist Party stresses that it does not approve the Election Commission's decision to hold the general election on June 20th. Addressing a press conference in Battaramulla today, Frontline Socialist Party's Politburo member Pubutu Jagada questions whether the Election Commission is working to government's agenda in suddenly announcing the election date at a time when the pandemic is still on the surge. Speaking to media today, Pubutu Jagada highlighted that the Election Commission Chairman Mahinda Deshapriya at a previous press conference informed that the proper decision on the general election date will be fixed after consulting with the health officials and concerning the situation of the country. However, Frontline Socialist Party says that it is ironic that the Election Commission announced the new date for the general election and on the same day in which the country saw the highest number of coronavirus cases. Moving on, during yesterday's meeting with the party secretariats and Election Commission, the Commission has noted that if the curfew status of the country will not be relaxed by next Monday, it will have to reconsider on having the general election on June 20th. Given the circumstances, Frontline Socialist Party says that this sudden announcement of the election date is dubious and hilarious. Meanwhile, Election Commission in a letter to President Secretary earlier requested the President to consult the Supreme Court in order to resolve the constitutional crisis arisen by not being able to hold the general election in May owing to the COVID-19 situation of the country and thereby not being able to convene the new parliament within 3 months of dissolving the parliament. Reiterating on this point, Frontline Socialist Party questions why the Election Commission is not working towards this appeal in sorting out the clarification of the Supreme Court. Meanwhile, FLSP Politburo member Jagoda further highlighted that the Presidential Task Force established to combat COVID-19 should provide a detailed report on the spending of the overall international and local donations and other financial assistance given to combat the pandemic of the country. And that's all the news for today. Stay home, stay safe. See you tomorrow again on State of Business at the same time. Until then, take care. Good night.